What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Horror Feed. As always, I am Jeff. Joining me today is
Bethany.
That's her
Yes,
name. Yeah.
right here.
I was waiting for you to say your name.
You always say my name.
We are bringing you guys yet another interview today, and this is the interview that I have been waiting like a year for. This is the most, like, you can't tell, but I am hella excited. I had to drink a lot just to maintain my excitement because I was fangirling really hard. Today, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we bring you the one, the only, Nathan Baesel. There he is. So awesome. So awesome. Sir, thank you. Thank you for agreeing to be on our little show. It means a great deal to us.
I appreciate your enthusiasm on the topic. I share your enthusiasm. So, yeah, you're welcome. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. You could ask Beth. Like, I have been very, I've been trying to hide this from everybody on social media.
Don't hide it. Don't hide it.
I like doing the surprises. I want them to be like, oh, holy crap, you know? And so this is like one of those that I'm excited about. Like, guys, if you don't know who this is, get out from under your fucking rock. First of all, this is Leslie fucking Vernon, okay? I mean, Leslie Vernon, the fucking's just my part, but this is Leslie Vernon, man. This guy is like literally a cult classic icon right now, and it's freaking amazing to have him here. So yes, I'm nerding out a little bit. I don't give a fuck.
Well, it kind of geeks me out to be called a horror icon. So I guess thank you for the regard.
You are, man. Like, so Leslie Vernon has it literally. When I first saw this movie, and like I literally just, it was on demand, and I was like, I'm gonna check it out because it's a horror movie, and I love horror movies. And I watch it, and I was fucking blown away. I was like, this is what I've been wanting. Like, I've been wanting to see a movie like this, and here it is. And it made me laugh when it was supposed to make me laugh. And I was like, oh, man, I didn't see that fucking plot twist coming. Like, I was so happy with how the movie came out. And you did, like, honestly, normally I would say this for the end, but I'm going to say it now. You did an amazing job, man. Like, bravo, honestly, bravo.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sir. Beth, I'm going to go ahead and let you ask the first question because I'm already...
Actually have a really good segue. So, horror icon, you've entered the ranks of slasherdom. How does it feel to be a slasher?
It's a pretty cool community. You know, the guys in person, or a lot of them I've met, and it's a good group, and just to be considered, you know, in their company is flattering. Yeah, the embrace that I've had throughout the whole experience from the horror community, and specifically the slasher community, has been really impressive and gratifying.
That's awesome. Speaking of which, actually, I was going to ask you, so how did you get the role? Like, how did you get the role of Leslie Vernon? And wasn't that like one of your first, like, really big roles as far as the film goes?
Yeah, well, I'd never done a film before. That was my first film. And I'd done some TV stuff, but I was relatively new to professional acting. And yeah, I just auditioned for it and got it. Is the short version. The long version is the long version was I put my stamp on it and made it troublesome for them to see the movie as any other way, but how I suggested.
That's the best way to go about it.
It worked because I couldn't imagine anybody else playing it. So
yeah, I honestly cannot see anybody else in that role.
There's been a couple times in my career where it's felt like the role that I was provided and just who I am and what I do just really syncs up, and that was one of them, and what a great opportunity to have a synchronization like that for a film like that, you know, because it was so unique. and character driven.
So you got to work with Scott Wilson, Robert Englund, and Kane Hodder on this film. How was it like working with the three of them? And is there any interesting stories you have of any of them?
Well, I never worked with Kane. Kane shot his stuff when they were doing. They were already in post production, and they had some interstitials that they wanted to throw in there, and Kane was one of the guys that they shot with, and I wasn't there for that. I was probably working that day or something like that. But yeah, it his presence in it for slasher fans specifically is really cool. And the other guys that you mentioned, yeah. Scott Wilson, I mean, I couldn't say enough good things about that dude. He was just the real deal, and I was really fortunate to have been able to work with him because he was just a fantastic mentor. You know, the character that he plays in the film is my character's mentor, and he did that in real life. He helped me through some stuff that when I was going through stuff, and he was always an open door, you know. Robert, the door's open, but I see him really only at cons, and it's hard to see him even at cons because the line goes around the block.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how he keeps his sanity, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's insane. That would explain a lot, actually.
That would make a lot of sense.
I think he's fantastically functionally insane. But he's just being in his proximity is just a whirlwind. I mean, the guy is firing on all cylinders constantly, and the quality conversation is fascinating. Although it's not as much conversation as monologuing, but man, I'll listen to his monologue all day long because he's one of the most fascinating human beings I've ever met.
That's awesome.
I agree. I have to agree.
Speaking of like running into Robert Englund at cons and anything else, do you have anything planned as far as some of the horror conventions that are coming up this year? Because there's like a slew of them coming.
Yeah, I'm really glad that the cons are getting back underway. Though we just got a notification that LA County is requiring masks again, and so it feels like the COVID variant that's out there is now a cause enough for concern that I don't know, maybe plans might change, but yeah, so far I'm appearing at Midwest Monster Fest that comes up in September, I believe, early September. That's the only one right now that I've got locked down, and I guess we'll all have to see how things go in this hopefully post-COVID environment.
Hopefully, yeah. I keep mentioning to the owner of Texas Frightmare Weekend. I was like, get Nathan out here, please. Like, that's the big one.
Yeah, I did that one.
Here.
I think we were promoting the DVD there. But yeah, I went, and Scott Glosserman went, who the director, and Ben Pace was there. I think Britton Spellings was there. Yeah, and it was a good time had by all. It was a really good con.
No, we enjoy that. Maybe it's time for a redo, because that was, I think, before both of us started going.
Yeah, it was.
To horror
conventions. I don't have anything to promote, so there's.
When you're you don't need to. That's the thing.
Yeah. The whole, I don't know. I still haven't. I don't do nearly. I don't do the con circuit. It's kind of something that I do occasionally, and it's great when I do. I love meeting folks, and it's great to have those conversations with people who you know have an appreciation for the movie, and so I always enjoy cons, but they are a little nerve wracking, the anticipation of it, and di- relocating yourself for a weekend, and
No, that's completely understandable. I'm in the con scene. I am the head of security for a show out where we live, so I fully understand. I'm in business mode right now because our show's in October, and I mentioned it to the owner. I was like, hey, this is a guy, since we're doing a Halloween show, you know, this is one of the people we should try gunning for, and I mentioned your name. So if you get a call from somebody in New Mexico, it's probably because of me. So I'm sorry.
okay, all right. I'll keep my eye out. I usually, if it's a number that I don't recognize, I usually don't bother answering, because I figure it's
It's about your
spam or
car's
scam or something like
extended
that.
warranty.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm fine with my warranty the way it is, honestly. So, but if I see a New Mexico call, I'll take that.
Awesome. Little, maybe not so known fact about you is maybe not a lot of people know you used to like be really, really like scared of horror movies when you were younger, and like you didn't really watch many, did you? Like it's kind of interesting to. I want to touch up on that because that's like crazy to like think about now, like looking back on your movie and everything else, and like can you tell us more
Well,
about that? Can you touch up on it?
I'm still scared of a lot of horror movies. Yeah, I don't like. I don't. I'm a control freak. I mean, all you need to know is that I'm a control freak, and I don't like being out of control. And horror movies make me feel out of control. Um, and even jump scares that I see coming a mile away, they still freak me out. And you know, I have a very visceral response to those movies, and I have seen a lot more because of this movie, Behind the Mask. I felt obligated to get familiar. I was, to a lot of people, I was kind of an ambassador for slashers, and I felt like, okay, well, I owe it to the community to at least have a little bit of sense of what I'm talking about. Um, and so I've tried to see some movies, and with my sons, once they started watching horror movies, watching Svengoolie basically on cable, the Saturday night horror movie, and he covers tons of genres and tons of decades, and so that was a great education as well. I've been uh, with my kids, basically we've been going together through the school of horror, and that's been a cool way to do it.
That's fun.
Mhm.
That's great.
So I know you've done post production for a while. I know you
Mhm.
do theater as well, and you've done it before, and I believe you're doing that now as well. And
Yeah.
you have been on screen. So out of those options, and I know it depends on the role and stuff, but would you prefer being on screen or in theater? Which one do you
Oh,
feel more
theater.
comfortable doing? Theater?
Theater. Yeah, theater. I would like to get to a point where I felt comfortable enough with the technicalities, and being surrounded by the technicalities of screen acting, um, where it didn't affect me, and I could still feel really comfortable and honest in my acting, but frankly, I'm not there yet, and theater is where I feel far more comfortable. Um, so yeah, I would have to say theater.
That's not bad at all. Like, I love theater. Like, theater is awesome. Like, I wish we had more of a theater scene out here. Honestly,
Mm.
like, it's one of the things that Mexico slacks on really bad. So we're trying to hopefully get something going out here. I don't want to have to travel
I'm
like all
really
the way to New
fortunate.
York.
Yeah, I live specifically in a town that has small theaters. Well, gosh, there might only be a couple left now that some had to close with COVID, and so we'll see how things look in the next year or so. But in any case, I've been fortunate to be able to work at a theater pretty relatively regularly, I guess. That's very close to where I live, and we um, get to do some really good quality theater, and that's just in the town that I live, and so I feel pretty fortunate to have access um, to live theater because it feels like that access is kind of dwindling a little bit.
Um, Speaking, like, keeping along the same conversation point right there, what would you say was your favorite body of work that you've done up until this point? Out of everything that you've done, what would you, if you had to pick like one or two, that's like your favorite body of work? What would it be?
I'd have to say that what I'm working on right now. Um, I've never I've never been challenged like I'm being challenged right now. I don't think I've ever done better acting than I'm doing right now, and and I probably would have said before this project, I would have said Behind the Mask because it was such a great. I had so much on-camera time, um, like way more than an actor usually gets on a film. I just had tons of on-camera time in both kind of documentary style and filmic cinematic style. So that was just a fantastic opportunity to learn, and I learned so much, and had a fantastic opportunity to kind of do my thing, and I did my thing all over it. But I feel like now my my work is just better. It's a lot better, and I think that's a direct result of just feeling better in my life, and that kind of infusing the work.
That's amazing. And actually kind of leads into the next question I was going to ask you. Are you like, are you have any current projects going on right now?
Yeah, so I'm doing the Crucible right now in Fullerton, California, Southern
Nice.
California, Orange County, California. So if any of your fans find themselves in the area, we close August 1st, and we only do weekend shows, thank God. This is a production of the Crucible, and I'm playing the lead male character in it, and it's yeah, it's grueling and like I said, extremely demanding. But the 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 rewards of it are great too.
That is
Oh, the
great.
Maverick Theater. I should say the Maverick Theater. Sorry, everybody. The Maverick Theater. Uh, uh, and I think it's just mavericktheater.com. I don't know. Fuck, I'm so bad at promotion. Anyway, Maverick Theater, The Crucible.
Guys, if you haven't seen it or if you want to see it, there you go. You have the information right there. Go check it out. If not, I will fly out to California and kick some ass. So check it out. I'm from
Crucible's
Cali.
such a good story too.
It is. It's it's grueling. I mean, it's not. There's not. It's not a whole lot of fun. There's very little fun to be had, and um, I appreciate that an audience is largely, I think most of the people seeing this show, this is the first live theater experience in over a year, and it's an adjustment. Everybody's making an adjustment to like sharing space with each other again, and And so as impactful as the show is in the performances and the portrayals and all that, I feel like what the audience is bringing into the space with them um, is really intense. It feels intense, and I feel like the value that audiences are getting out of our show, we're responsible for providing maybe 50% of it. The other half is what people are bringing in with them.
And that's what you would hope for a performance, right? To have
Absolutely,
that
and people are loaded
atmosphere
up.
and
Yeah,
have the audience kind of be into it as much as what you guys are giving out. So that's awesome, and it's a really good story to do.
it's a
So
fantastic story because you can, regardless of what your politics are, you can find a message in the thing. Do you know what I mean?
oh
And
yeah,
it's very political, but
oh yeah.
any side can, see this play with a completely different set of eyes, and that's fascinating. And I am not going to talk about politics now, but but I've overheard really interesting conversations with people who clearly represent both sides of the political spectrum, and what they got out of the show was completely different, but they both were intensely impacted by the show. So it's interesting. I feel like what we're doing is trying to, as honestly as possible, tell our character's story, right? And I feel like the sincerity of intent behind what we're doing is providing a really comfortable canvas for people, the audience, to project their uh, experience onto. And dude, and 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 it feels like that's the way it's going. Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
That is okay. Couple more, or not a couple, few more questions for you, and then we can let you go because I'm sure you are incredibly busy and your cat wants your attention. So,
Just because
one
he
of the
knew the
things
camera was on.
the cat was like, "I want in on this." Like my dog's trying to do the same thing, and I'm like pushing him away.
Dude,
So, so, in Leslie Vernon, what would you say if you had to choose like a scene that was like your favorite scene that you shot or that you did? Which one would you think? Like, which one would you say it was?
oh, well, the thing that first comes to mind, the most immediate thing that pops into my mind right now, and I'd probably have a completely different answer for you if you asked tomorrow, but um, is the scene in the hayloft just before the murders start, where Taylor and Leslie are sitting there, uh, just before the shit hits the fan, and they're having a really, really quiet, intimate moment, and then Leslie just starts crying because he's so happy, and and she's like there for him, and they do like that, and then they part. I mean, just the fact that we were able to get a scene like that into a movie like this, it's just so weird. You don't see that kind of stuff in movies. You don't see a take like that that's just so weird and kind of heartfelt, but also funny because it's so weird. Um, it's a lot, and I think why I'm proud of that scene, or proudest of that scene, at least for today, is because when you read that scene on the script, um, that's not the scene. The scene is, you know, oh boy, this is like my Christmas. I just cannot wait. Doo, 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 woohoo! And the way we went was a just completely different way, and I'm grateful that Scott, the director, was open to the suggestion of trying that, and because we shot it a few different ways, but that was the one that felt like it made most sense to me, and he was game, and that's what made the cut.
Yeah, no, that scene was beautiful. That is one of my favorite scenes. Just like how intimate it is, how like you could see the emotion building up in the character. Like this is what he's lived his life for. You know, it's like been building up to this moment, and you can see all the emotion. And then next thing you know, like he's fucking slashing ass everywhere. Just,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Well, and I knew that it was a real moment, and had the possibility uh, of resonating with people, because it was what I was feeling. I was feeling like this is it. This is right before everything changes. This is the moment before everything changes and my dream comes true. And this film is going to be the pathway to making that happen for me. And I'm getting to do not just a dream role, but a dream film. And if all we got to do is just not fuck it up, and the script is so stinking good, it'll just take care of itself. And I felt like I'm about ready to dive off the diving board, and here we go. Woohoo! Cannot wait. And that's the moment that I had when I went to the farm for the first time, when we were scouting locations. Just walking around the fields, I was listening to music and just feeling like, my God, I was so alive. I don't think I'd ever felt so alive, and and I was weeping in these, fields, and so that's why it struck me that if this is the same thing that I'm going through, which it feels like it is, then it makes just as much sense for him.
yeah, that's amazing. The serious moment. Had to catch my breath. Um, Another question for you, just so like I'm going through like a list and anything else. So I asked this of everybody that we've had on the show, and we've had, I can't even remember how many now. But what would you like to be remembered for? Like, what would you like that legacy to be when all of our time comes? You know, we want to be remembered for something, and what would you like to be remembered for?
I would like to be remembered by my two kids as a good father, a good guide, good loving presence.
From what I can tell, you are doing just that. Like, you are a very, it seems like you are a very genuine person. You know, I follow you on Facebook and everything else. You seem like a great person. You know, your family is lucky as hell to have you. That's for sure.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm work in progress, and I'm working a lot.
Hey, that's all of us, man. All of us are
The work
doing that.
never stops. It never stops.
It
Can I
never
just be
ends.
done and perfect and life be awesome?
Can't we just live already?
Right.
Can't I?
Okay. I got one last question for you, and then I'll let Bethany take it away. Um, so, what would you like to tell all your fans, everybody who is seeing this when they watch it, and just in general, what would you like to say to all of your fans that love you and support you and want to see Before the Mask? You know, I'm just going to throw it out there. What would you like to say to all of them?
Thank you. And yeah, there's no sequel information to come, uh, or is imminent as far as I know. Um, it's just it was so monumental an undertaking just getting the first film done with the resources that we had. You know, and when you're doing a sequel like our sequel would necessarily be more everything, more deaths, more bodies, more effects, more, you know. So you've got to, if you're going to comment on the nature of sequels, which, why would we be doing a sequel without commenting on the nature of sequels? It's the price tag is way higher, and I know that there was an effort made to shop it around to, you know, larger size studios, and none of those deals came to fruition, and so to raise funds, to you know, try to bankroll it privately, I mean, it would just be, it would just, I, I mean, Frank, I'm so glad that it's not my wheelhouse. It's not something I would have to be involved with. It would be somebody else's nightmare trying
Exactly.
to trying to fundraise for that. But um, yeah, one of these days we're going to get something together. I know that everybody enjoys working together and would love to work together on another project. There's just you know, resource concerns that have to be met first in order to make that happen. Right now, there's not the willingness to do what needs to be done to take on, you know, bringing those resources together. So it'll be a while down the road yet, a little bit. I've done some writing, and I've tried to um, I've tried to imagine a real guerrilla style way of working that could further the story of Behind the Mask, and do it in a way that's less resource intensive. Um, and and I'm still working on those. but but yeah, if it's, you know, the film thing, the film sequel, that's going to be years down the road, I imagine, because there's so much that has to fall into place in order to make something like that happen.
Yeah. I know there's like a lot of what is it called, like Indiegogo, and like not GoFundMe, but like there's a bunch of places out right now that where
Yeah.
films are getting funded by like the fans and everything else. So maybe all of us fans could come together and somehow put something together to help with pushing
we
before the
we did
mask forward.
something like that, gosh, 10 years ago, maybe. I don't remember when, but we tried to do yeah, I don't remember what we used, but a crowdsourcing kind of thing. And we raised quite a bit, but we didn't raise enough, and we didn't get to walk away with all that cash. I don't even know that we would have been able to make it at the time had we, you know, hit that amount. But we had a script, and that's what we were using to try to incentivize people to contribute. And the contributions were really impressive, and the enthusiasm was great. But without hitting that mark, we were left with a script, a really good script that we didn't have the money to shoot. So somebody made the really clever choice to turn it into a comic book, and one of the fans of the movie. There's so many fantastic artists out there who are in the horror community, and who are specifically fans of Behind the Mask in the horror community. Um, anyway, Nathan Thomas Milner, a fantastic artist, he took on the project of turning the script into a comic series. I think it was either 6 or 8 issues, and it just translates really well into that medium. Horror and slasher just do really well in comic format. So yeah, we still got the story out, and you know, people got to see the ball rolling in one way, though it wasn't maybe everybody's desired way.
At least we still got it, right? Like, that's what matters.
And
Sure.
here's to hoping that sometime soon in the near future we get to see Leslie Vernon on the screen again. Really hoping.
Well, you know what I tend to tell folks is that I don't have any need to do it again. It feels like we did the first one. It's not a perfect movie, but it just it came together really well. I mean, it's so easy for movies to just not end up. I mean, we were just really glad with how it turned out. I was specifically very glad with how it turned out, and you know, it feels like when you're taking on a sequel, it's just you're just asking for problems. You're just asking for an inferior quality, and unless we had a real strong team of folks coming back to make sure that the quality was maintained. I really don't mind with waiting as long as it takes to kick that can down the road. Frankly, in my opinion, the longer it takes, the the funnier some tropes will be to play out. The last time around we did it, we were sprightly, gazelle-like figures, and now it takes 5 minutes to stand up straight when I get out of bed in the morning. So,
Man,
there's some fun stuff to play with. The longer the distance gets between two movies,
You mentioned the gazelle, and it reminds me of my favorite scene in Behind the Mask, where you're talking about how much cardio you have to keep up with them, and they run like a bunch of freaking gazelles. Like, oh my god, that's awesome.
I think you just made his whole week right there.
Yeah, just hearing gazelle just automatically made me think of that.
Nice. Nice.
Okay.
Well, maybe in one way or another. I don't mind waiting. We've been waiting this long, so
Exactly.
we'll wait for a really good Leslie Vernon movie, or maybe even a cameo in like Hatchet or something would be really cool. So maybe.
I just did a cameo in a YouTube channel called Kill Count.
Oh yes, I caught that.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
So that was the reappearance of Leslie Vernon. that was the first Leslie Vernon. He had a costume, a full costume. One of his buddies had made one for Halloween one year, and so I geared up as Leslie Vernon. That's Leslie's first appearance since Behind the Mask.
That's awesome. Okay, we got one last question for you, and we'll let you go. This is a question that Bethany always asks everybody, so Bethany, take it away.
What is your favorite scary movie?
Exorcist.
Good movie.
Nice. You can't go wrong with that movie. That movie is amazing.
Yeah.
It still scares the crap out of me.
Oh yeah. I don't know what it is about that either that does, but yeah, I get really wound up by angels and demons stuff, God and Satan stuff. That's probably the way I was raised. that's probably what does it. It just pushes buttons for me, and
they make really good storylines. First of all, at least I find them fascinating, and then demons are just creepy. I think they're just scary. So
they are very, very creepy.
You did mention about being a control freak.
Yeah.
From a fellow control freak, I think one of the scariest thing about possession movies are somebody's
totally
taking. Yeah,
right.
You're totally out of control. So it's definitely terrifying.
Wow, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way.
What
What's that?
I was like, Beth, what have you done? You're gonna make him think about it like that now.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's a good way to kind of get to the bottom of some of the. I have a lot of anxiety in life, but especially watching a horror movie, I get wound up, really, really super wound up, and so it's helpful for me to have things that I can anchor on that helped diffuse the intensity for me. Behind the Mask was really great like that too, because it talked so much about the rules of horror movies, the rules of slashers, and taking an academic approach to horror movies has allowed me to have maybe a little intellectual distance, uh, um, emotional distance, because of the kind of intellectual, uh, I don't know, veneer that I was, or lens that I was looking at it through, you know.
That is great. Okay.
Well, I'm an overthinker, so I do this to people all the time.
I'm
Sorry.
an underthinker.
I hope you can sleep tonight.
I think that's it. Bethany, do you have any more questions?
No, that should be it.
Awesome, and I don't want to take up any more of your time, sir. Before we cut this off, I did want to say again, thank you very much for agreeing to be on the Horror Fiend. It means the absolute world to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you again.
You're welcome, Jeff. It was a pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to meet you, Bethany. And
It was awesome meeting you.
Now you just got to meet you in person and drink.
Yeah, I would like to do both of those things.
Yes.
Preferably at the same time. If we
At
could
the
find a
same
way
time.
to do, yeah, that would be fantastic. Let's make that
If you
happen.
find your way down to Frightmare somehow this year, I will buy you like 5 rounds on the house. I'm tempting
That sounds like the start of a really good evening, or a really bad evening.
Depending which way we go and what we drink. Like I drink a lot of like Jim Beam and Evan Williams and stuff like that. So
I'm a Jim Beam kind of guy too, and
yes,
it can go south real quick. But hey, we're gonna keep stuff on the up and up.
There you go. Okay, everybody, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this interview. This has been like a year in the making, so I'm very happy that I was able to finally bring it to you guys. For the Horror Fiend, I mean, he's her.
I'm me.
It's him. Later, guys.